Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Taj Singh, who's the CEO of First Nordic Metals, who are a district-scale gold miner in Northern Europe and one of the largest mineral claim holders in Sweden. The company's flagship asset is the Barsele gold project in Sweden, which is a joint venture with tier one gold producer Agnico Eagle Mines. Tej is a mining executive with over 22 years experience in corporate development, capital markets, finance, project development, engineering and operations. He's also a professional engineer and holds a degree and master's in metallurgy and mineral processing, and also a chartered professional accountant, CPA. He's previously founded and made discoveries with the likes of Discovery Silver, and NOA Lithium Brines, and now is at the helm of First Nordic Metals. It's going to give us an overview of the company, discuss their past partnership with Agnico, an overview of the mining industry in Northern Europe, and some of the exciting things they've got planned over the coming years. So just before we start, just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Hawcroft. They are leaders in property risk management in the mining industry since 1992. They offer insurance risk surveys, construction risk reviews, and asset critical assessments and more. They work across 600 sites globally, and they support mining, processing, smeltering, power, refinery, ports and rail operations. So if you're looking for property and insurance risk management service, then visit their website at www.hawcroft.com. All the details are in the show notes. Tej, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing again?
Very good to see you again, Rob. Good to see you after a bit of time.
Yeah, this is actually the third time that you have been on. So you were back on in 2022 and 2023. So this is the third time that you've been on. So for those listeners that are listening that hadn't or haven't listened to the previous episodes, I just wanted to just give us a back breakdown of your career, how you got into the industry, how your career's developed to obviously what it is today.
Fantastic. Yeah, my background, I mean, you've touched on it a little bit, but just prior to First Nordic Metals, I was the founder, the founding president and CEO of Discovery Silver. I was there for about 6 years and grew the company from kind of 10 million market cap going IPO to over 800 million on the back of the advancement of our Cordero project in Mexico, which is the world's largest silver deposit. So that ended up being a big success, and it really moved the company forward, and they're actually moving towards a construction decision on that. At the same time, kind of overlapping that, I was one of the founding directors of GT Gold, a copper gold deposit in British Columbia. That was, we kind of went public in about early 17, and a few years later we were acquired by Newmont Mining for $450 million. So another good success, right place, right time. And then prior to that, I was again back in Mexico, spent about 5.5, 6 years working as a VP for Timmins Gold, a gold producer, junior gold producer, producing about 150,000 ounces a year from their gold mine, heap leach gold mine in northwest Mexico. So saw that through, and then prior to that, I was actually an analyst for a couple of years at Macquarie. Got to see lots of assets around the world and write about them and do a lot of due diligence into project valuations, mainly covering junior golds and silvers. And then to start my career, for the first 10 years of my career prior to that, I was actually an engineer and mainly involved in large capital projects for Vale. It was originally Inco, and then Vale acquired Inco. So very large, of course, major diversified company, got to work in operations all around the world. So been in the sector my entire life, and pretty varied kind of experiences, but exploration, development and production all around, and heavy focus on capital markets.
Yeah. Just want to go back to obviously your career. You've obviously got a degree and you've got a master's, but also you have a CPA. Was there a reason why you studied for a CPA, and how's that affected your career moving forward, having those extra qualifications?
Yeah, listen, I'm a bit of an academic as much as I've got actual real world experience too. I like to always keep learning and growing. And I had already done my engineering degree, both my bachelor's and master's, and was working in industry for Inco at the time, which had become Vale. And it was kind of, I was moving into capital markets to work for at Macquarie. And I said, I knew a lot about and high level stuff on the financial side of things, but I said, let's do something or do an MBA or a CPA because it's going to help me round out my skill set. So I just did it while I was working, it's definitely obviously paid off because you've kind of got all of the kind of sides of the business covered. So yeah.
Yeah, good. Just wonder if you can just give us an introduction to First Nordic Metals, including obviously the overview of the company, its key assets, and I suppose also the expertise of the team.
First Nordic Metals is focused in the Nordics, Sweden and Finland primarily, and we are focused on we're basically exploration and development stage. So our flagship asset is in Sweden. It's on what's known as the region is known as the Gold Line Belt. We are actually the majority owner of the entire Gold Line Belt. We own 100 kilometers, effectively 100% owned of an entire greenstone belt that we actually think has multiple deposits on it that need to be discovered. That's kind of the thesis. And right in the middle of it, we own 45% and Agnico owns 55%. That's the one project that we have joint venture on. The rest of the belt we 100% own, but that is the development stage project called the Barsele project. And that is about 2.4 million ounces, been very well drilled by ourselves as well as Agnico. We're fully carried by Agnico on it, and that is moving towards the study level now, towards PEA and PFS. Agnico is the operator there, but we obviously interact with them regularly in the region. And then the big part of this year is now to look for those new discoveries I talked about. We believe that you've got this Barsele deposit sitting at close to 2.5 million ounces. We think that will grow substantially. We believe that, but we also believe, like I said, with 100 kilometers, so sort of 40 kilometers to the north, 40 kilometers to the south of this Barsele deposit, and 40 plus, we think that there's 2, 3 more deposits to be found in this belt at least, with kind of the similar size and scale to Barsele. And eventually, if you put multiple deposits like that together, you're talking about something extremely serious. You're talking about large scale gold camp that I don't really see many companies out there that can put multiple multi-million ounce deposits in the same region together. So that's really the vision. And then very high level in Finland, we've also got a interesting resource stage project, small maiden resource of about 300,000 ounces of high grade gold silver. It was an Agnico discovery and then put into our company through Agnico. We acquired it and we believe that has multi-million ounce potential as well. It's ready to drill and it's in a great region. Obviously, Finland's very hot, northern Finland. So we're going to be working on that as well. And in terms of shareholders, Agnico is already not only at the project level on the Barsele project, they're also an 11% shareholder. And we've got a very good registry of really good institutional shareholders and a nice strong kind of backing of insider holdings as well.
And I wonder if you could just follow on with the executive team and obviously the key players within your team that are putting all this together and the success that you've had so far.
Perfect. Yeah, I've already done my spiel on myself, but our president, I'm CEO, but our president is Adam Cegelski. He has been probably 25 years in natural resources sector and has had successes such as Caden Resources being sold to Agnico Eagle asset in Mexico, sold for over $200 million. He's part of the founding team there. Was involved in the early days of Keegan Resources, which is a greenstone belt deposit in Africa, which became Asanko Gold and then Galliano Gold. And tied into that is our VPX, is Ben Gelber. He was part of the discovery team of the Asasi deposit, and that was part of Keegan Resources. He also spent a substantial amount of time working for Barrick, primarily in South America, but on greenstone belt deposits, the exact kind of style deposit we're looking at here. And then if you look at our board we've got Mark Legault on there. Mark Legault spent 35 years at Agnico, a geologist and an engineer, was involved in the exact projects we have now. But he retired as an executive vice president, very high level, very senior member of the Agnico team. And so he's on our board, which is fantastic. We've also got Jeff Couch, who's based in Europe and actually based in London. He was head of BMO, capital markets banking team, for I think close to a decade. So we've got kind of a European influence, and a new kind of board member that was added was Henrik Lundin. You might have heard of that name, but and Henrik is based in the Nordics, which is fantastic, and he's got 20 plus years of experience in the natural resource sector, lots of connections in Europe, obviously. So really kind of strong board and strong management to push this forward.
Yeah, looks like you've got a great, strong team there.
Yeah.
What makes Sweden an attractive jurisdiction for mining? And I suppose, how does its regulatory framework support exploration and development?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because it's not the first country, right, that maybe
No.
comes to mind when you think of mining. But if you actually go back and look, Sweden and also Finland, probably Sweden's number one, Finland's number two, always for mining and metals output out of Europe. Huge iron ore mines, copper mines, even several gold mines. It's not, people don't really think of it that way, but it's long legacy of mining in the Nordics. Sweden specifically has become very, I would say pro mining actually, really pushing projects ahead. Three new mine startups this year. Two were kind of brownfield startups, and one was a brand new greenfield startup, gold mine that's not far from where we are. So like really actively, as part of I think the kind of European critical minerals initiative, I think they're really focusing on like, okay, we have all these resources here. We've got to support the homegrown and really develop a strong industry here, where we can be leaders in kind of sustainable mining and kind of green mining, if you will, and everything is set up for that. They've got hydroelectricity power from dams, so like truly this kind of green mining initiative can happen here. So Sweden is, it's been great, and geologically, what really excites me is geologically, in combination with obviously the socio-political situation, is that it is absolutely rich with geology. Like it has the similar geology, similar age rocks, similar kind of composition of rocks as what you see on the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, for example, which is the most prolific gold belt in the world in kind of Ontario and Quebec, Canada. But that belt has been worked on for 80 years, 100 years, right? Whereas this gold line belt that we're on, specifically the gold line belt, it's a greenstone belt, has not seen much work at all. Right? There's one major discovery on it, a few small 2-3 million ounce deposits on it. But if you think of the Abitibi, if you think of a 100-kilometer stretch, you've got 100 million ounces of production, probably 50 to 100 million ounces of resources, still there. And if you look at the same thing in Sweden, it just hasn't been worked on. They haven't applied modern systematic exploration to it, and the number's much smaller. But you got to think that there's many more deposits out there, and that's what really makes me excited about First Nordic. And a big part of it is that these countries were not open to foreign investment till the late 90s, till the EU started, and now they've opened up, and things have started getting hotter. And I think it'll continue. And I truly believe both Sweden and Finland are probably the next frontiers of major gold discoveries in the world.
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned about the Golden Line Belt, and obviously you mentioned some bits about the obviously unique geological features. Is there any other points that you want to make that make it a focal point for exploration activities?
Yeah, I think something that's very surprising is the cost. The power up there is about 3 to 4 cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, that's more when you move towards development and production, but that's top decile, maybe even better in the world. And it's a first world jurisdiction. So costs are unbelievably cheap. Like even, for example, our diamond drilling costs, you're talking about $200 to $220 a meter US. That's top decile in the world. They're good at what they do. They know how to do it. And yeah, the exploration costs, as well as development, and even as you move towards capital costs, extremely surprising to see how low they are, competitive they are. So again, that's another favorable advantage. Taxes are unbelievable. Corporate taxes are 20%. Again, probably the lowest among most tier one jurisdictions that I can think of. So very good environment to do business in.
Yeah. How does your partnership with Agnico Eagle enhance the development of your Barsele gold project and obviously your surrounding assets along the gold line belt? And is the company still seeking to take 100% ownership of the project?
So yeah, listen, having Agnico there both as a shareholder and as well as a joint venture partner specifically on Barsele is fantastic. They've been there since 2015. We've been there even longer if you consider the original predecessor of First Nordic Metals was Barsele Minerals. They're the original discoverers of the project. And Agnico came in 2015. But Agnico's being there so actively involved in the community, and you know how they operate. They're probably the world's best gold miner, bar none, from everything they do. It's just fantastic, right? The who you can connect with, getting work done, having them there really helps us. And even having some of the best geologists in the world there as part of the Agnico team, as we develop and discover our 100% owned properties, they're there helping us, giving us thoughts, and it's been great in terms of info sharing, as well as kind of socially and politically having them there. In terms of 100% ownership of the project, Rob, it's an item that over the past couple of years has come to mind, and there was some kind of discussions happening about Barsele Minerals, the predecessor of First Nordic, acquiring the project 100% and accelerating its development. So those discussions have started again. Agnico is a much, much, much larger company now, at close to kind of 60 billion market cap Canadian, versus what they were when they came into this project, maybe 4 or 5 billion. So their kind of criteria on projects has changed, and they kind of focused on different regions of the world. Canada is a big one for them. So, this project clearly, in our opinion, looks like it needs to be accelerated towards development. We believe it is a mine. And so the best kind of way forward might be to put it in our hands, let us accelerate its development. Agnico still there is a very large shareholder, and move it forward that way. So talks are ongoing.
Yeah. This year, obviously, you're looking to run one of the largest drill programs in Europe, and you're currently drilling on multiple projects as we speak. I just wonder if you could just walk us through your sort of drill exploration program, and the focus and the objective for the 2025 program.
Yeah, so we did a financing of close to $12 million in late 2024. Fantastic, kind of financing, got lots of demand, but we took enough to be able to run our plan for 2025. And our plan is what I talked about before is we have 4 very exciting targets, and that's actually grown now. We have about 4 more new targets, but 4 drill ready targets that look very similar to Barsele, like I said, on the same belt, the gold line belt, so on the same region. We're just going to test them. It's time to drill test them. They've never really been drill tested at all. A few holes here and there, lots of sampling, lots of geophysics. So all the preparatory work has been done. It's time to drill them. So we've got 3, 4 very key targets that are all, 3, 4, 5 kilometers in scale, which is very large scale deposits, just the same size as Barsele, if not bigger. We're going to test them kind of with a maiden drill program and start advancing them. And it's a really exciting year because there's going to be lots of drill results coming. The total program looks like it'll be on the order of about 25,000 meters, at least for 2025, and then we'll move into 2026 with a remaining budget and continue to keep advancing there. But it's definitely going to be exciting. It's one of the larger programs in all of Europe in terms of exploration drilling.
Yeah. If you had to sort of promote the Nordic region as a mining jurisdiction, whether you speak about Sweden, whether you speak about Finland, how would you sum up the region as a jurisdiction that companies should consider?
Yeah, I think you have to look at other jurisdictions and other mining projects that have faced significant challenges over the past few years in tougher jurisdictions. The one thing I will say about these jurisdictions is it's clear and transparent way to production. If you've got a project there and you move it ahead, it's going to happen. So security of tenure is huge. And I've talked about the other points: low corporate tax rate, low power cost, and basically a long legacy of mining. So, really being in that kind of first world country, tier 1 jurisdiction, but basically in a remote area. It's not like it's an area that really hasn't been explored. All of these factors, I think, make both Sweden and Finland kind of top jurisdictions to do exploration.
Yeah. And lastly, what are the next steps and timeframes around advancing your projects from exploration to production? And then following on from that, what are the company's long-term strategic goals?
So long-term strategic goals is pretty simple. We're trying to create here Europe's next gold camp. We want to basically, we think we already have one mine. We think there can probably be 2, 3 other deposits to support a big complex and make a belt out of this. That's really what our long-term goal is. I've talked about the 2025 plan. It's a lot of drilling, and I'm betting you 26 will be bigger, and it'll keep continuing. And what's interesting about our kind of portfolio is you've got early stage projects, projects that have moved to stage 2, and then projects that are already in the development stage, and that will continue to happen. So we have a continuous kind of pipeline of projects, but we're really focused on this region, and we think there's a lot more gold to be found here. And it's we really think we're on to putting together a belt here.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. Tej, thanks a lot for sharing your story with us. Obviously, telling us about First Nordic. Obviously, exciting times ahead. It looks like you're onto a winner there, and obviously plenty of work during the course of this year. And perhaps you want to come on later this year and give us an update on progress.
Perfect. Thank you, Robin. I also want to note, I think it's a Q1 item roughly. We're shooting for that as we plan to list on the NASDAQ Stockholm as a secondary listing, which I think is going to bring a lot of access and exposure to us in Europe. And then I think having Sweden's largest gold deposit and having a Swedish stock exchange listing is going to be fantastic. And I think that's really going to be a key catalyst for us as well. So watch out for that coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, certainly. And if our audience wants to obviously follow the story, get obviously regular updates on your exploration program, how can they go about doing that, and what social media channels you and the company on?
Yeah, we're on all the main social media channels for sure. Website's easy to kind of get to and then go from there. www.fnmetals.com, and we're pretty active on all socials. So looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, and I'll include those in the show notes of companies anyway. So yeah, all good. All the best for 2025, and hopefully we'll speak later in the year.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks a lot, Tej. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, appreciate your support. Please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. We want to promote mining across, obviously, educate our mining industry, but also promote mining for people that are not in our industry and don't understand mining. I mean, this is a perfect example that obviously Europe, which is probably normally not associated with mining, if you look at it from a global perspective, and look at some of the things that First Nordic are doing. So please keep sharing these episodes far and wide, and appreciate your continued support. So until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.